Welcome to the Apex. I'm Zell, your host, and we're going to jump right into sharp news this week. We got a lot to cover. In blog and print, Everyday Commentary has an article on why mainstream coverage of knives is important. And he hits on some things that we don't think about, and it's probably a good idea to go read this article because he puts it together well and he makes some very, very good points. From Blade Reviews, we have a review of the Spyderco Roadie, and I brought this one up because it's a review from a unique perspective, and I rather enjoyed it. And the truth about knives is talking about the Freedom of Commerce Act that they've introduced along with a couple of senators, and that would repeal the Federal Switchblade Act, and that's important for automatic knives and moving them through the country. And Knife Informer has the Factor Absolute review, and that's kind of a neatly shaped knife, guys. And from Knife Planet, we have a trip to Italy. They're a new one for us. The 34 traditional Italian pocket knives. And they've got it divided up on a map by where and what province or what section of Italy. And it's just cool and neat pictures. And from Knife News, we have Reate tapping Tashi for 2 new models. And guys, one of them is just, well, both of them are freaking gorgeous. But one of them has this super beautiful edge termination on the heel of the blade. You'll know what I mean whenever you go and look. And they also have an article about boost blades in the Smoke TS1. And for whatever reason, they talk about Jim Skelton. Just kidding, Jim. They have a article about Jim and his move from being a salesman and a knife reviewer into making knives as a full-time gig. And there's some information left out there, but what is there is very interesting. And good on you, Jim. I'm glad that you're moving forward with that. And some of those, that little finger you've got, that's going to be a good-looking little knife. And now, before we get into videos, I want to talk about the glasses on my face. These are from Firmoo. And Firmoo is an online optical retailer, and they contacted me a couple of weeks ago, wanted me to get a look at a pair of their glasses. So I said, well, I use online optical retailers already, just not you guys, so sure, I'll get a look at your glasses. So they sent me this code. I went through their website just like anybody else would and picked and chose what I wanted, so I decided to try these, and I think the material's called acetate? I don't know, somebody fill me in down there. And they're really cool. They're light and they're well built. Everything is seated well. The temples work really well. And I don't know. They're just really nice glasses. I know they look a little different on me because you guys aren't used to seeing this style of glass on me. And I'm not used to seeing this style of glasses on me. So they look a little weird to me too. Man, they feel good on my face. But anyhow, if you've never ordered from an online optical retailer, it is dead simple with Firmoo. You go, they have this little booth where you can see what the glasses are going to look like on you, and you pick the glass shape or the frame, and then you, whenever you pick the frame, then you go and you pick your lenses, and once you've picked your lenses, then you put in your prescription and your pupillary distance. That's the distance between one to the other pupil, and they have a deal to tell you how to measure that and how to measure your head. Now, we all know how to measure your head. Most of you got a caliper around somewhere. Just, if it's a big enough caliper, no problem, right? There you go. But the pupillary distance, you're going to want to go to a professional. They tell you how you can do it, but I'm going to suggest you go to a professional. And whenever I say professional, just somebody that knows how to do it. There's people at all your major eyeglass places. I've had it done at Walmart before, and of course your eye doctor will do it for you, or your optometrist, and get that one a little more exact because that's where the center is in the glasses, and you want that in the right place so things look kind of funny. But anyhow, that's the most complicated part of ordering glasses online from Firmoo. So I ordered them. They showed up in about a week or so. Like I said, it's been good. I like them. I'm going to give them more business in the future because you guys, as you guys know, I have problems with horizontal spaces, and my glasses fall into that. They get laid on one of those horizontal spaces, and other stuff gets laid on there, and I end up with scratched glasses. And in the past, that meant I trashed a $200 or $300 pair of glasses. Not anymore. I moved to the online retailers a couple years ago, or longer maybe, because I could get glasses for less than 50 bucks. And with Firmoo, it's less than 40 bucks. So, pretty darn good deal. And I'm going to use them again, and I'm going to put a discount or a link to a way to get a discount code in the description for you guys if you choose to go to Firmoo and check them out. If you wear glasses and you know about online ordering of glasses, then you guys know how it works. If you've never done it, I'm going to suggest you try it, because you can go over to Firmoo and try it very cheaply. I've had a very good experience with them, and you should too. And it's really simple. Just check all your measurements, make sure you get that PD distance, and it should be a simple and easy thing to do. And the amount of money you're going to save over going to that optical place in the mall is just insane. Anyhow, on to the videos. First up, we have the Apostle P with the Kershaw Launch 7. And that's one cool knife. I like that one. I just haven't had a chance to get my hands on it. And 7 Ready hits us up with a Best Tech 1703 review. And that's a knife I've had around here for a while and I haven't reviewed. Sorry, Hank. Anyhow, 7 Ready's got you covered. And then Fun with Knives has a look at the CRKT Tau Tactical Pen. I probably said that wrong too, but oh, whatever. And I've got one of those around here, but of course, Fun with Knives beats me to the punch. And Stazza23 gives us his top 5 slicers for the month. There's a couple of Bokers in there that are rather sexy. And Kevin Cleary gives us the top 10 best everyday carry folders for the current time. And then Jeremy over Simple Little Life brings out our viewer knives. And wow, you just got to go watch some of these. It's a great way to see new ideas, see some awesome work from people, and it's I just like watching them whenever I've got a few minutes. And then we have his Making a Friction folder series. You're going to want to watch this one. It gets exciting near the end, a little more exciting than usual. And Cedric and Ada Outdoors, Pete over there has an Edge Retention Unleashed video on VG10. Drop what you're doing and go watch. Well, Nate, when you're done with this video, go watch that one. That's the first one. You right-click, open in a new link. Go watch that one, because it will give you a new outlook on VG10 from companies other than Spyderco. And he also does rust-resistant knife testing. And that's another one that's going to end up being 2 or 3 videos that you're going to watch, but only a few minutes. And it's rather interesting. And then Jake over at Canadian Cutting Edge hits us with the world's first exposure, in English, of 2 very cool knives. And they are pretty cool. You need to go watch it. And Alex Steele is forging Damascus for a folding knife. And that's a lot more exciting than what it sounds. You are going to want to go watch that one too. Remember, right click, open in a new window. And yeah, anyhow. And from here, we're going to go to a camera down view and talk about locks. Alright guys, I want to talk about locks, lock mechanisms, specifically liner locks and frame locks, and their materials and interfaces. And we're going to go through this fairly quickly. Inside we have this is the inside of a WE Thru-X. And as you can see, liner locks of today are not those little bitty thin pieces of metal that you could ball up like aluminum foil or just close the knife right on them. Those days are past as long as you're spending a little bit of money on the knife. Anything in general off the shelf above about 40 bucks, you're good to go, and sometimes down into the $25, $30 range with Kershaw and CRKT. As long as you're staying out of the gas station knives and staying out of the El Chapo Asian knives, you're good to go with the liner locks. And even some of them, like San Ramu, they make really good knives at very reasonable prices, and they have good lock mechanisms. But anyhow, I like the modern liner lock, whether it's a stainless steel liner lock like we have in this WE 617, or a stainless one like we have in this Browse VR71. And the reason I like them is you can use them with either hand. It gives you that deal where you don't have a problem getting your thumb or one of your fingers on that lock bar to cause you problems opening the knife. And I even like, we got a titanium liner lock of sorts here with the 704, which is a beautiful, beautiful knife. And I just really like that idea because it takes hand placement out of the equation. You can get that knife, flick it open wherever you're at without any worries. And then we have, next up, I suppose, up the ladder, you have stainless steel frame locks like this lateralis. And if you don't have one of these and you're a knife fidgeter, just go buy one, because even if you have some issues like I did with the look of the knife or the shape of the blade or whatever, it is definitely a knife fidgeter's knife. Probably the best one I've dealt with. But what we have is a stainless on semi-stainless, in this case, lock interface. Works great. And then we get to the ones that everybody wants to have a fuss about. We have the Reeve integral lock, your titanium, carbonized titanium on stainless. Now, people are going to tell you that these are going to wear out. People are going to tell you you're going to get lock stick. People are going to tell you a whole list of things. And it's kind of like the fear of the liner lock. In days past, don't buy a liner lock was a mantra, and it was a good one, because most liner locks were that thin aluminum foil type material. You wad up and pull it right out of the knife or whatever. They were crap. That's just the way it was. And with whenever people started making titanium frame locks, besides Chris Reeve, there were a lot of knives that weren't squared up right, didn't have proper angles cut, and quality control practices were not in place, like we saw with the first one of these Viper Storms. Now this one, freaking perfect. If you saw the disassembly video on it, we took care of the little bit of centering issue, and there's no lock stick, no lock rock. It's just good and solid. So if everything falls in place on one of these knives that has a carbonized titanium for the lock bar, I don't see the problem. People will tell you they'll wear out. Okay, well, every one of these knives on the table has a lock life. Whether it's all the way down here with our stainless insert, big old stainless insert on this mantra, which is already at about 70% across the knife. It has a lifespan. It's got 30% left, if you will. I don't know how long that'll turn out to be, but it's going to be a long darn time. Same thing whenever we look over here. We got this lateralis, and we're at about 30%, 40% in, so we got 60-70% left. All of these knives are designed so that the lock itself wears and not the blade, and that's what you want. You want this lock bar to move further and further over, and you don't want the end of the blade to wear. Now, does the blade wear a little bit? Of course, there's friction there. But the idea is for the lock bar to take more of the wear. That's why it's cut at an angle, and that's why this bar here is sprung so that it can touch the other side most of the time. And that is the design. They have a design lifespan, and for all intents and purposes, none of us are going to hit that designed lifespan. I have only seen one knife literally hit its end of life. Maybe two, but the one that really did hit its end of life was a buck as a 501 or a 503. It was the one that was my dad's, and I can't remember which one it was. Esquire, whichever one that is. And between Dad carrying it for several years and me carrying it for 4 or 5 years, it had about 20 years worth of carry on it, and the lock really did just pretty much become useless. And at that point, I just put the knife away. It had spent 20 years in service. It had met its price. Whatever Dad gave for it in the beginning, it was well used, and it was essentially a free knife at that time if you figure in all the work it had done. So the idea that the titanium frame lock or the stainless frame lock or even the liner locks without the steel insert are going to wear away tomorrow is just, in my opinion, crazy. You know, how many people have 20 plus years on a Sebenza? How many people have lots and lots of years on an XM18? There are lots out there. Now, there are advantages to the lock bar insert. Whenever you put in a lock bar insert, and most companies do this anymore, they use that lock bar insert. You see a little bit of shiny right there? And that's your over travel stop. So you don't have to use these little discs, or you don't have to place your pocket clip over the frame and over the lock bar with a lot of tension to give yourself that over travel stop. And that's a beautiful thing. But I don't know that if the knife is built right, that they're necessary. And that's one of the questions for you guys. The first question is, what's your favorite lock style? Do you like this current crop of liner locks, where you can pick the knife up and use it with either hand without any issues, without getting your fingers on the lock bar and causing you problems? I mean, that's one of the things that I really like about the current crop of liner locks. Are you a stainless frame lock guy? Nothing wrong with that. These are some pretty dang tough knives. And things like this Rake P801 is just a beautiful freaking knife for the price. Or are you one of those guys that is not going to buy a Sebenza, or not going to buy the Storm, simply because it doesn't have a lock bar insert? I know you guys exist out there. Don't be shy. And it's okay. Let me know what you think about this subject, because, you know, it's interesting to me that we have companies like We and Reate and a few others, ZT, that bend over backwards to make sure that there's a lock bar insert in every knife. And then we have other companies like Viper and Hinderer that don't worry about it. They get their geometries right most of the time and sell you a knife that's going to work for a good long time. And you have a lot of custom makers out there, and I have seen this personally. I have seen a friend of mine who is hardcore lock bar insert. Every production knife he buys has to have a lock bar insert. However, he owns a Sebenza. He owns an XM not 18, the bigger one. Owns one of those, and he owns some custom knives from makers that don't use lock bar inserts. It's all carbonized titanium on steel. And that's something you'll find. Many of your custom makers that are making a handful of knives at a time, they don't use lock bar inserts because it complicates the build process and would raise the cost for you. But they get that interface right. So anyhow, give me your opinions on this. And from here, we're going to go to the winners of those Hugsby flashlights and a bonus. All right, guys, here we go for the Hugsby flashlights. We can go down to pick a winner off of the TubeBuddy app, and we're going to pick the first winner, William Burke. And yes, you're right, it does rhyme with Bugsby. So, William Burke, you have won one of the Hugsby flashlights, and we'll pick another winner. And David, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, David, because I'll mess it up, and then you'll have to laugh at me in the comments. So if you want to laugh at me, I'll try. Melee? All right, have a good chuckle over that. But David and William, you guys get a hold of me. Email, I guess. I want something that lets me know that you are who you say you are. So if you could reply to me in the comments or get me a PM on YouTube, that would be great. But I will need your contact information so that I can get those flashlights sent out to you. And hold on, guys. Last week, we had a winner for the RP1 that never got a hold of me, so this is kind of how these things are going to have to go. Every 6 days, so the Apex comes out on Wednesday normally. So Tuesday, if you haven't got a hold of me, the following Tuesday, then we're going to pick somebody else. So we're going to go to the two buddy deal here, and we're going to click the pick a winner. Picking a winner. And we've got Michael Graham. So Michael Graham, you need to get a hold of me. You have won the RP1 from now, what is that, 3 weeks ago? Or 1 week ago, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're the winner. So Michael, get a hold of me, send me an email, and get a hold of me here on YouTube if you can. I've got if you go to my channel page, guys, there's a send a message button that you can click, if I remember correctly. And if you would send me a message there, that would be awesome. So there you go, Michael Graham and the guys that won the Hugsby lights, get a hold of me, and we'll get that stuff out to you as soon as possible.